Have you ever noticed how the moment you start caring more, he starts caring less? One day, he's texting first, complimenting you, saying how amazing you are, and the next, it's like he's emotionally vanished. No calls, no enthusiasm, just that cold, distant energy that makes you question everything, including your worth. But here's the truth. Most people never tell you, when a man pulls away, it's not always because he's lost interest. Often, it's because he feels he's losing control. You see, men are wired to chase what they fear they can't have, not what's always available. When you start giving him all your energy, all your time, and all your emotion, he subconsciously feels like he's already won you. And once that happens, the excitement fades. Now here's where most women go wrong. They panic. They start over-texting, over-explaining, trying to fix what went wrong. But that reaction only pushes him further away. What actually makes him miss you badly is the moment he realizes you've stopped waiting for him. So in this video, we're going to flip that script. I'll show you how to create emotional space that makes him crave your presence again. You'll learn how to use silence, confidence, and subtle psychological cues to make him feel your absence in a way he can't ignore. Because once you understand the psychology behind why men pull away, you'll never chase love again. Love will start chasing you. Stay tuned. This is where everything starts to change. When a man begins to detach emotionally, it often feels like you're losing him in slow motion. The texts become shorter, the calls less frequent, and the warmth that once made you feel safe slowly turns into silence. You can sense him drifting, but you can't quite understand why. The truth is, emotional detachment isn't always about you doing something wrong. It's often about what's happening inside him. Men are taught from a young age to suppress their emotions, to be strong, logical, and in control. So when they start to feel deeply connected to someone, it triggers something unfamiliar, vulnerability. And vulnerability for many men feels like danger. To protect themselves from that emotional exposure, they subconsciously create distance. They might stop sharing, stop initiating, or seem cold for no reason at all. What looks like indifference is often a defense mechanism. Here's where the power dynamic shifts. When you chase that distance, you're confirming his fear. You're showing him that you feel more invested. And that gives him permission to pull away even further. But when you stop chasing, when you hold your ground, maintain your calm, and show that your happiness doesn't depend on his attention, something incredible happens. He starts to question his decision. The emotional detachment he thought was freedom begins to feel like loss. The key to handling emotional detachment isn't confrontation, it's contrast. When he pulls back, you lean into your own life. Focus on your goals, your passions, your confidence. Detachment from his behavior doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to control the outcome. You replace anxiety with energy. You replace waiting with becoming. Over time, that energy shift speaks louder than any words. He feels it. He notices you're not fighting for his attention anymore. And that creates curiosity, even panic. Because men don't miss women who chase. They miss women who can walk away with quiet confidence. Emotional detachment, when understood correctly, becomes your greatest power. It's not about playing games. It's about mastering your emotional balance so deeply that he can't help but be drawn back to your peace. Because peace to a man used to chaos becomes irresistible. Missing someone isn't just an emotional experience. It's a psychological response deeply rooted in human attachment. When a man starts to miss you, it's not because of what you say to him, but because of what he feels in your absence. And here's the secret most people never realize: missing someone isn't triggered by constant presence. It's triggered by space. In the beginning of any connection, there's excitement, curiosity, and that magnetic pull that keeps both people wanting more. But over time, when things become predictable, the human brain starts to normalize that feeling of closeness. What once felt thrilling becomes familiar. That's when he starts taking your energy, your time, and your affection for granted. Not out of cruelty, but because the novelty has faded. The brain craves stimulation and uncertainty. So when everything becomes certain, it subconsciously starts to wander. This is where the psychology of missing someone truly begins. When you suddenly remove your presence, your attention, your warmth, your communication, it creates a gap in his emotional rhythm. His brain, which had adapted to your energy, now feels a void, and human nature hates voids. It tries to fill them. That's when he starts wondering, what is she doing? Or why hasn't she reached out? That curiosity quickly turns into emotional tension, and that tension transforms into longing. The most powerful part of this process is that you don't have to say or do anything to make him miss you. You simply have to withdraw your emotional supply. That doesn't mean being cold or manipulative. It means redirecting your focus inward. When your energy shifts from seeking validation to embodying self-worth, it's felt on a psychological level. Your silence becomes louder than words. Your absence becomes a message in itself. Here's what happens next. His memory starts replaying moments with you. Your laughter, your voice, your confidence, the way you made him feel special. The human brain stores emotional experiences in vivid detail, especially those tied to pleasure and comfort. When that stimulus disappears, the mind replays it like a loop, trying to recapture it. That's why he suddenly views you differently when you're gone. Distance magnifies your value, and the more emotionally balanced you appear during that space, the stronger the impact. If he sees you thriving, smiling, moving forward, it triggers a powerful psychological contradiction. He expected you to chase. He expected you to crumble. Instead, you've evolved. That contrast forces his subconscious to reevaluate what he lost. It's no longer about control. It becomes about craving. Missing someone is the emotional brain's way of seeking balance. When you become the one thing that used to center his world, and now you're no longer there, he begins to realize that what he lost wasn't just your presence. It was the peace, the spark, and the emotional depth you brought into his life. And once a man feels that, truly feels it, he can't stop missing you, because your absence becomes unforgettable. Silence and space are two of the most underestimated forces in attraction. When a man begins to drift away, most women feel the urge to fill that silence with explanations, reassurance, or attempts to reconnect. But what if the very thing you're avoiding, silence, is actually the most powerful tool you have? Because silence isn't the absence of communication. It's the presence of mystery. It's what makes the human mind restless and curious. When you stop reaching out, something subtle but powerful happens in his subconscious. The constant flow of your attention, which he had begun to take for granted, is suddenly gone. That attention acted like a mirror, reflecting his worth, feeding his ego, soothing his insecurities. Without it, he's left alone with his thoughts. The mind hates uncertainty, so it starts searching for answers. Why isn't she texting? Did she lose interest? Did she move on? That's when your silence begins to speak louder than any words ever could. The key is to understand that silence is not punishment, it's power. It creates emotional tension. It allows his imagination to fill the gaps, and what he imagines is often far more impactful than anything you could have said. Human psychology proves that we value what we can't fully predict. When you're silent, you become unpredictable again. He can no longer read you, and that uncertainty reawakens the same curiosity that first drew him to you. Space, on the other hand, gives you back your emotional equilibrium. It's not about ignoring him out of pride. It's about reconnecting with yourself. When you stop chasing, you shift from being reactive to being magnetic. Your energy becomes calm, centered, and grounded, and that's what draws him in. Men are instinctively drawn to peace, even if they don't consciously realize it. When you detach with grace, you send a powerful message. My world doesn't stop because you stepped back. And here's what most people don't expect. Silence changes the power dynamic without confrontation. Instead of trying to convince him of your value, your absence forces him to feel it. Every day he doesn't hear from you, his mind replays the moments when he did. Every message you don't send becomes a reminder that he's no longer the center of your attention. Over time, that silence becomes unbearable. It transforms from relief into regret. This is where emotional chemistry reignites. Because when you finally do speak again, and you will if you choose to, your words will carry more weight. They'll sound calmer, more confident, more in control. Silence teaches him something no argument ever could, that you're a woman who knows her value and doesn't need validation to prove it. True power in relationships isn't found in persuasion, it's found in presence and absence. And when you master the art of silence and space, you'll never have to chase again. He'll be the one chasing your quiet. Texting can be one of the most powerful emotional tools when it's done with intention. The right message at the right moment can linger in a man's mind for hours, sometimes days, making him crave your presence even more. But the secret isn't about sending more messages. It's about creating emotional impact with fewer words. Because the truth is, men don't miss people who are always available. They miss the ones who know how to leave space for mystery. When you text a man who's been distant or emotionally withdrawn, your goal should never be to get an immediate reaction. The goal is to spark curiosity and emotion. The most effective messages are short, emotionally charged, and open-ended. Think of it as planting a seed in his mind, not flooding him with attention. A simple line like, "Something reminded me of you today, but I'll tell you later," does far more than a paragraph asking how he feels about you. That single message activates his imagination, and imagination is where desire is born. The psychology behind longing is rooted in uncertainty. When a man doesn't fully know where he stands with you, not because you're playing games, but because you're centered and calm, it activates his natural drive to pursue clarity. So instead of constant updates or reassurance, your texts should make him wonder. Use pauses intentionally. Don't reply instantly every time. That little delay, that breath of space, creates anticipation. It gives him time to feel your absence between the messages. Emotional tone matters more than content. A confident feminine tone that feels light, warm, and self-assured pulls him in far more than deep confessions or over-explaining. Avoid emotional dumping or guilt-driven texts like, "I feel like you don't care anymore." Instead, communicate from a place of self-respect. Try lines like, "I've been really focused lately, but I hope you're doing well," or "It's been peaceful lately." Funny how quiet can feel good sometimes. These messages show that you're composed, grounded, and moving forward. And paradoxically, that's what makes him want to pull you back. Another subtle but powerful technique is to use sensory or nostalgic triggers, small cues that remind him of how he felt around you. Something like, "I heard that song from the night we first met," immediately reactivates emotional memory. The male brain ties feelings of attraction to specific sensory moments, songs, smells, places, and when you reference them briefly, it brings that chemistry rushing back. But the most powerful strategy of all is restraint. Every text should feel intentional, not desperate. You're not chasing a response, you're leaving breadcrumbs that lead him back to you emotionally. And when he finally reaches out, curious, nostalgic, maybe even confused, you meet him with calm energy, not urgency. That's when he realizes he doesn't just miss your messages, he misses you. The less you text with purpose, the more your silence in between speaks. That's how longing grows, not from attention but from the space you create for him to feel your absence fully. The memory hook technique is one of the most powerful ways to make a man think about you long after the conversation ends. It works because it taps into something deeper than attraction. It creates emotional imprinting. When used correctly, it doesn't just make him remember you, it makes him feel you even when you're not around. This isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's about understanding how memory, emotion, and psychology intertwine to build a lasting connection that lingers beneath the surface. Every person has a unique emotional fingerprint, moments that stick with them, because they evoked strong feelings. Those moments could be joy, surprise, comfort, or even challenge. The memory hook technique creates one of those moments intentionally. You do it by saying or doing something that ties a powerful emotion to you. Think of it like leaving a scent of energy behind. Invisible but unforgettable. Start by identifying your unique emotional tone. Are you playful, mysterious, nurturing, confident? When you express that authentically in your interactions, it becomes your signature energy, the feeling he associates with you. The more consistent and genuine that energy is, the stronger the imprint. So instead of trying to be everything at once, lean into what feels most you. For example, if your vibe is warm and nurturing, use small gestures that make him feel safe, like a calm tone or a kind message at unexpected moments. If you're more mysterious, share thoughts that make him pause and think, sentences that end with emotional ellipses rather than conclusions. A true memory hook comes from emotional contrast. The human brain remembers what stands out, what disrupts its pattern. If every interaction feels predictable, it fades into the background. But if you mix calm with a hint of surprise, or softness with subtle distance, you create that moment that keeps replaying in his head. It's not about drama, it's about depth. Maybe it's the way you laughed at something small, or how you went quiet at the perfect time. Maybe it's the unexpected compliment that wasn't about his looks but about his energy. These moments are sticky. They stay in his mind because they make him feel seen differently. You can even use language as a hook. Words tied to vivid imagery, like "I still think about that night sky we saw," or "there's something about your energy that's hard to forget." Give his memory something to hold on to. Every time something reminds him of that moment, it triggers a small emotional spark that leads back to you. What makes this technique powerful is its subtlety. You're not forcing him to remember you. You're creating moments worth remembering. And when those moments are tied to positive emotion, warmth, or intrigue, the connection grows in his subconscious. Days later, he won't understand why you keep crossing his mind. He'll just know he misses that feeling he had when you were around. That's the art of the memory hook, leaving traces of your energy in his world, so that even in silence, you remain unforgettable. Making a man chase you again isn't about pretending, playing games, or forcing his attention. It's about reawakening the part of him that once saw you as magnetic and mysterious. Every chase begins with curiosity. The moment a man feels like he completely understands you, the chase ends. But when you learn to balance emotional openness with subtle unpredictability, you reignite his desire to pursue. The first step is energy recalibration. When a man pulls back, most women instinctively move forward, texting more, seeking reassurance, asking questions. That reaction flips the natural polarity of attraction. To make him chase you again, you must step into stillness. Detach from the need to get him back and focus on regaining emotional neutrality. That calm, self-assured energy is intoxicating because it signals that you're no longer chasing validation. You're standing in your worth, and nothing makes a man more intrigued than a woman who isn't waiting for him. Next, you need to rebuild contrast. The version of you he first fell for wasn't anxious or overthinking. She was radiant, spontaneous, and centered in her own life. So instead of sending reminders of what you once had, create new energy. Try something that shifts your world. A new hobby, style, or adventure. Post with subtle confidence, not to provoke jealousy, but to display growth. When he sees that evolution, it triggers something primal, the urge to re-earn what he once had. Men are wired to value what they feel they must work for. When he senses that your attention is no longer guaranteed, he'll start seeking ways to win it back. Communication also plays a crucial role. When you do interact, keep it light and emotionally balanced. Avoid revisiting the past or trying to define the relationship. Instead, use curiosity and subtle emotional cues. A simple, "You seem different lately," in a good way, or "I've been focused on new things lately." It feels refreshing, makes him wonder what changed. That sense of unfamiliarity, the idea that he might have lost access to parts of you, reignites his pursuit. But here's the secret. You don't chase even when he starts showing interest again. You mirror his energy with calmness, letting him lead the pace. If he texts, don't jump to reply instantly. Give his curiosity time to build. If he reaches out to reconnect, keep your energy warm but self-contained. That mix of openness and restraint keeps him emotionally engaged because he can't fully read you. The human mind craves what it can't completely predict, and when you become that mystery again, the chase naturally resumes. Ultimately, making him chase you again isn't about reversing roles. It's about embodying your highest feminine energy, confident, self-fulfilled, and emotionally grounded. When you stop needing him to pursue you, you create space for him to want to. And when that happens, he won't just chase you for attention. He'll chase you because he's reminded of what's truly rare, a woman who doesn't need to be chosen to know her own value. Maintaining attraction isn't about constant effort or performance. It's about consistency in energy, self-awareness, and emotional rhythm. Once a man begins to chase again, the natural temptation is to relax into comfort, and assume the spark will sustain itself. But attraction isn't built on comfort. It thrives on balance. The delicate dance between connection and individuality, closeness and mystery. When you master that balance, you don't just capture his attention, you keep it effortlessly. The first truth about maintaining attraction is that it starts with emotional independence. The most magnetic women never make love their identity. They allow it to be a part of their life, not the center of it. When you continue nurturing your goals, friendships, passions, and personal growth, you signal that you're whole on your own. That energy creates an unspoken challenge. He realizes he must continually earn his place in your world. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about living fully and refusing to shrink your world around one person. Emotional polarity also keeps attraction alive. A healthy relationship thrives when both people feel a natural pull toward each other's energy. You don't need to be overly affectionate or constantly available to keep him close. You need to stay emotionally intriguing. That means expressing warmth, but not predictability. Be soft when he expects distance, and distant when he assumes you'll cling. Subtle unpredictability keeps his attention locked on you because he can't fully anticipate your next emotional move. It keeps the connection dynamic and alive. Communication should feel natural, not transactional. Instead of overanalyzing every interaction, focus on emotional tone. Speak with warmth, humor, and genuine curiosity rather than need. When you talk, listen deeply and respond with authenticity. Attraction isn't just built through physical chemistry. It's reinforced through emotional safety. When he feels both seen and challenged, he stays engaged. He wants to earn more of that emotional connection. Another key factor is energy management. Never give more than what's reciprocated. When you sense him pulling back, don't chase or compensate. Match his rhythm while staying grounded. That emotional composure shows strength and confidence, which are irresistibly attractive qualities. You become the emotional thermostat in the connection, calm, in control, and radiating peace. Finally, always leave room for evolution. People change and relationships that thrive adapt together. Bring new energy into the connection often. A new shared experience, a light-hearted surprise, or simply a different perspective. Familiarity breeds comfort, but contrast breeds attraction. The goal isn't to keep him guessing who you are. It's to keep reminding him that you're a woman who keeps growing. When you maintain your individuality, protect your peace, and nurture your confidence, attraction becomes effortless. He doesn't just stay interested because of what you do. He stays captivated because of who you continue to become. That's the secret to lasting magnetism. Not holding on tightly, but glowing so brightly that he never wants to let go. Becoming irresistible isn't about being perfect, flawless, or endlessly accommodating. It's about embodying a quiet, undeniable confidence that radiates from within. True irresistibility has little to do with physical beauty or charm. It's an energy, a presence that makes people lean in without fully understanding why. It's the ability to stay grounded in who you are even when others pull away, misunderstand you, or fail to see your worth. The moment you stop chasing validation and start embodying value, everything begins to shift in your favor. Irresistibility starts with self-respect. When you respect your time, your emotions, and your boundaries, you naturally command respect from others. Men, especially, are drawn to women who know their worth because it communicates emotional maturity and inner peace. When you stop trying to prove your worth and simply live it, your energy becomes magnetic. You no longer seek approval, you attract it effortlessly. Every interaction becomes lighter because you're no longer performing or proving, you're simply being. Another secret to becoming irresistible is emotional control, not suppression, but mastery. The most captivating people know how to feel deeply without losing themselves in emotion. You can love someone fully and still choose yourself first. You can miss someone and still stay silent when silence protects your dignity. That calm power is rare and rarity is irresistible. The less reactive you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because when you stop chasing peace, you become it. Irresistibility also comes from the courage to walk away from what no longer aligns with your worth. It's easy to chase what's familiar, to hold on to people who no longer choose you, but real strength is knowing when to let go. not from bitterness but from clarity. The moment you release what drains you, you create space for something better to find you. And that kind of self-trust, that unwavering faith in your own energy glows louder than any words could. Confidence, mystery, and peace form the perfect trinity of attraction. Confidence says, I know my value. Mystery says, you'll have to earn access to my world. Peace says, I'm not here to compete or chase. I'm here to flow. When those three energies align, you don't have to manipulate or perform. You simply exist as a woman of depth, self-possession, and presence. And that combination is hypnotic. So, becoming irresistible isn't about doing more, it's about being more of yourself. It's the art of returning to your essence, of letting go of fear and stepping fully into your own power. Because once you do, everything that's meant for you, love, attention, respect, will find its way back naturally. And when that happens, you'll realize something profound. You were never chasing him. You were always awakening you. If you've made it this far, take a moment to breathe. Because everything you've just heard isn't just about making a man miss you. It's about rediscovering the version of yourself that stopped settling, stopped chasing, and started choosing peace. The truth is, the moment you shift your focus from how do I make him want me to how do I become someone I would never walk away from, that's when everything changes. What makes someone truly unforgettable isn't how much they give, but how deeply they know themselves. When you learn to detach from outcomes, when you stop forcing connections that aren't flowing, you start to radiate a different kind of energy. Calm, magnetic, confident. And that's the energy men remember. That's the woman who lingers in his mind at 2 a.m. Not because she chased, but because she walked away with grace. So as you step forward from this video, make a choice, not to play games, but to reclaim your power. Give space, not to punish, but to realign. Use silence, not as manipulation, but as self-respect. And remember that you never have to prove your worth to someone who's already unsure. The right person won't need convincing. They'll feel your value just by being around you. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end here. Apply it. Practice emotional control. Stay grounded in your boundaries. Reconnect with your goals, your passions, your joy, because that's what makes you radiant. That's what makes people gravitate toward you, without even understanding why. And if you want to go deeper into understanding how men think, how attraction works, and how to rebuild emotional connection from a place of power, then make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and join this community of high-value women who are learning to love without losing themselves. Leave a comment below sharing your biggest takeaway. I read every single one. Let me know which part of this video spoke to your heart the most. Remember this, the woman who masters her silence, her emotions and her self-worth becomes unforgettable, not just to him, but